Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we'll take a look at Microsoft Flight Simulator Sim Update 15. And while update is pretty big, we'll focus our attention on crosswind landings and improvement to the flight model. Overall, people should see better stability and FPS. I haven't done any testing on that, but also I'm running it in VR, so this might not apply to many people. If you look on the release notes under general, you can see a few items such as a new high accuracy physics system to enable vibrations and micro movements, and what is the most exciting is more accurate ground contact model and improvements to ground handling. In this video we'll be flying a Cessna 172, and while it's great on a calm clear day, it can get a little crazy when it's windy, to the point that it becomes impossible to control the aircraft with a crosswind above 10 knots. When it's 5 and less, it is manageable, but above that, it is pretty difficult. Our taxi checklist complete, so let's taxi to the runway and give it a try. Also, they did some work on ground handling, and Cessna feels pretty good on slow speed taxi. I'm setting crosswind to 10 knots. It's coming from northeast, which is to our left, and if you look at the windsock, you can see that wind is coming directly from our left. Alright, and let's give it a try. We ready for takeoff? Apply full power. Right rudder, aileron into the wind. And it is manageable. I have a full right rudder. Here's a rotate. We're gonna crab into the wind and pitch for 73 knots. It feels like there is improvement there. Transition from the ground into the air felt smooth. Alright, let's fly a standard pattern here and try to land with this crosswind. I'm gonna make our left turn and keep climbing. So that takeoff did feel better. Now the big question is how the landing is going to be. At our pattern altitude, we're gonna make a left turn to our downwing. And reduce some power. Maintain the altitude. Since we have our wind coming from our right now, we're gonna crab into the wind again, so it doesn't push us over the airport. We're gonna put 10 degrees flaps We just crossed our threshold there. Since the pattern here is 800 feet, we're not gonna descend yet, but maintain 3000 instead. And this base is gonna be pretty quick because we're gonna have 10 knots tailwind, and this is a good time to make that left turn, reduce the power, start slowing down. And I'll add 20 degrees flaps. There's our runway. Let's check final. No one's coming on final. Let's start our turn to final. There's that 10 knot wind, so we're gonna try to maintain a center line. Getting too high. Put full flaps and reduce the power. We'll have to land long. Gonna add right rudder to stay over the center line, and put the left wing down. That was a pretty hard landing. And we are on the ground. So the question is there an improvement? I think yes. It is a slight improvement, but it is there. Before the update, when you touch down, the aircraft would violently turn into the wind, and it would be very difficult to control it. So we are moving in a right direction, and before the update it was very difficult to do any landings with a crosswind component above 5 knots. Just now we did land with a crosswind of 10 knots coming directly from our left, and it was manageable. I didn't do the best job landing the airplane, but now we can see that there is a potential of practicing those crosswind landings with a crosswind of 10 knots. Now I'm setting up crosswind to 15 knots, and let's see what kind of results we get. Wind is still from the northeast, which is to our left. Aileron into the wind, full right rudder, full power. And airplane starts drifting to the left, and I have to brake. So that didn't work. I will set crosswind back to 10 knots to confirm our previous results, and aileron into the wind, full right rudder, and we are maintaining a center line. Temperature, pressure in the green, airspeed alive, starts releasing pressure on the yoke. 65 rotate. Stay over the runway, pitch for 75, crab into the wind. Okay, so now we can talk about our results. As you were able to see, 10 knots wind is perfectly fine for the crosswind takeoff and landings, but once we go to the 15 knots, it is simply impossible to control aircraft on the ground. So when you try to land with the 15 knots crosswind, the moment you touch down, the plane will simply go off the runway and you will not have enough rudder authority to keep it on a center line unless you start using asymmetrical braking to stay on a runway. So we see some improvements and definitely can fly and practice crosswind takeoffs and landings with the wind speed below 10 knots, which is great because before this the limit was probably around 5 knots. And let's jump to the final and watch another crosswind landing. And I have a good and stable approach. Speed is 65. We have full flaps. Power goes to idle, round out. Let's come back on the center line and we're going around. Flaps 20 degrees, full power. Build up speed. Positive rate of climb. Flaps 10 degrees. And we are climbing and speed is above 73, so flaps up. And as you see, that didn't work as planned, but it's okay. And let's watch a replay. So I had a pretty good approach, but from the start I end up on the left of the center line. Here I'm adding right rudder, straightening the plane up, but it was just unstable, so I decided to go around. And let's watch one more. I have a pretty stable approach. Speed is at 65, full flaps, about 500 feet per minute descent rate. Power goes to idle, getting over the center line, start flaring, correcting ailerons into the wind, bringing that wind down with the keeping right rudder. A little bit side loaded, but better than the last one. Let's end the video on this, and as you see, there are some improvements with this new update, and go ahead and try yourself, and I would love to hear what you think. Thank you for watching, everybody.